In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God, he was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made, without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning the light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light, he came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory and the glory of one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born, King of Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem was with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea." They replied, "For this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you who will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star had been in the east. Went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and of myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Heard those stories before? As we continue to go through this season of Advent, I shared with you before, one of the hard things about going through this season is we're looking at what we call a story, but it's not a story. It's a moment in history that we talk about every year. And we try and think of different ways to highlight what took place, what that means for us today, what that meant for them then. We try and use it to inspire us as we walk through this time, and it's very difficult, as I've shared with you, to really come up with something new year after year after year, because the moment in history didn't change, it's the same. But this particular moment that was just read today, one was what we talked about earlier, as Kennedy read, of just the light of the world stepping down into darkness. God incarnating himself, becoming one of us, fully human, fully God, is the gift. And when that gift was understood to be there, and in this particular case, when the wise men were alerted of that, they went and they saw him. And when they went and they saw him, they took him gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And in just very short part of it, that's where a large part of our gift giving during this time of the year comes from. Is taken from that story, from that moment. There's a lot of other elements to it, but coming back to it, that's a big part of why we now have created a tradition of giving gifts at Christmas is partial to that particular story. And most people do it, not everybody, but most people carry on this tradition of gift giving. My question today, and in case I actually wrote this on here so we can see it and we can think about it, is what is the most meaningful gift that you've ever received? I'd like to hear from you. I asked our youth the other night, anybody willing to share what is the most meaningful gift you have ever received and why? Kids. And why? Just something about them, huh? I think I see a hand in the back. Yes. What's that? Someone gave their life for you. That is a great gift. I'm assuming you're talking besides Jesus? Yes. Anybody else? Most meaningful gift you've ever received? Like breath, life full. The fact that you're here in our presence celebrating your birthday. You just turned 25. Or 30, one or the other. Anybody else? What's the most meaningful gift you've ever received? Let me ask it this way. Have we all received a gift before? Have we ever received a gift at Christmas time before? This is gonna be a hard group today. Like, have we received a gift at Christmas before? Did any of us receive a gift 5 years ago at Christmas? I think 5 years ago was COVID year, so it's easy to remember. Anybody receive a gift at that time? Can anybody tell me what they got? Hand sanitizer. COVID. Socks. How do you remember socks? Just get it every year. Okay, I was gonna say, man, those must have been some special socks. Hand sanitizer, COVID, socks. Anybody else remember what they got 5 years ago? I'll make it easier. 3 years ago. Can anybody tell me what they got for Christmas? Micah, do you remember what you got for Christmas 3 years ago? Was it good? Well, how do you know? You don't even know what you got. Anybody else remember? Anybody tell me what they got last year for Christmas? Who said that? That was like just a voice from the back, man. It was just like totally tattoo. You got a tattoo for Christmas. Assuming the one I see. All right. Yeah. Your mom and your daughter, your family, to Florida, and got to see the ocean. Your mom's first time. I know a mother who enjoyed that gift because we heard about it in the coffee shop a lot, getting to see the ocean for the first time. I know that meant something. Anybody else tell me what they got last year? I hear, yeah. They planned that just for you, didn't they? We're gonna go with that. Yeah. Yeah, you remember that. Here's an easier one, maybe. What are some of your favorite Christmas traditions? Family get-togethers, being with family. sing with your grandpa when he plays the what? The guitar. You play the guitar, huh? Do you play the drums too? We could use that. Sing with grandpa while he plays the guitar. Anybody else? Favorite Christmas tradition? Mincemeat pie. Can you explain that one? Why? You caught the key phrase. I got the taste for it. Okay. Very cool. So mincemeat pie. Well, since you're the one that likes it, are you the one that eats it? That's the tradition. Make your pie. Anybody else? Are we just afraid to share, or we don't have any? We don't want to cut it off too quick. I enjoy hearing in these moments the gifts, the traditions, playing games with the grands. How about, do any of us have favorite traditions we just don't want to share this morning? Can we at least say with the raising of a hand? Do we have traditions we enjoy? Or do we just kind of fly by the seat of our pants? Do what we do. I bring this up because we've been going through this Advent Conspiracy Challenge to look at this time a little different so that we can genuinely be a people who want to claim that we want to keep Christ in Christmas. And to do that starts with actually making him the number one priority, worshiping him fully. In doing so, part of what we challenged last week was imitating him, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but imitating him in his heart and who he is, and demonstrating that ourselves by taking some of the traditions we have of this gift giving and making it very practical, and being people who intentionally choose to spend less on just more stuff, more people, but it's so that we can do something else with it. And that's what I want to focus on this morning. And that's to be able to give more. And as we think of this idea, this Advent conspiracy, and think of this process and these challenges of worshiping him fully and choosing to spend less so that we can give more, the reason I ask these questions is because I think we can all agree that there's something that is still deeply beautiful and powerful about certain gifts and traditions. There's just some, if it's mincemeat pie, if it's playing with the grands, if it's just hanging with family, there's just some different kind. That's why they become special traditions. These gifts that we remember, there was something different about them than just every other gift. There's something that is more deeply moving, that's more beautiful. And for most of us, the special gift or the special tradition that we remember the most is a different kind of one than what some of them are that are out there. It's usually a relational one. There's a reason for that. The best gifts, the best traditions actually often celebrate a relationship of some sort. If I had to guess, even the ones that we didn't share this morning, even the ones that we didn't want to bring up, even the ones we didn't want to say, if I had to take a guess and we could talk one-on-one and you started sharing the gifts and traditions that matter the most in your life over the past 1 or 3 or 5 years, they weren't random and rushed traditions and gifts and things that we just had to do to fulfill the obligations of the season. They were personal, and they were relational, and they were intentional, and they were ones that required someone else to give more than just doing whatever we're supposed to do. It required them to give more thought. It required them to give more time. It required that person to give more effort, and sometimes even required them to give more courage and to take more risk in the gift that they were given. I bet if we think back and we process those that have meant the most, we realize that one of those elements was a piece of that gift. And I want us to think about that as we move and continue moving through the Advent season, where we've been asking this very important question as to whether or not Jesus truly is our number one focus and our number one priority. You've heard me say it a couple weeks now. If we are going to be a people that get offended and upset because we put an X on Christ and take Christ out of Christmas, then we need to be a people who are living as though Christ is the heart of Christmas. And if we're going to do that, that means we got to ask ourselves if he truly is our number one focus and our number one priority, especially during this time of the year. Is he really receiving our respect and our honor and our reverence and our adoration this year? Is he really the one, or have those things quietly shifted to the feelings, to the smells, to the sights, to the sounds, to the traditions, even to the legends of the season? Because it's easy to do. It's easy to start actually celebrating Christmas, and we worship Christmas itself and everything that comes with it over offering our deeper, fully worship to Jesus. Even this morning, as I was looking over the final part of this, every Sunday morning is the last time, get up in the morning, have my own personal quiet time, have that moment, and then look this over one more time before I send off the PowerPoint if there's going to do all this final stuff. Even this morning, I was up in my normal spot on the couch where I normally sit, the light that's normally there, the stand that's on the left side of me, the coffee that's sitting right there, so there's easy access to the pot a couple times, like all of that that's there. There was a draw for me to go downstairs and do something different. And you know why? Because that's where the Christmas tree is. And the glow of the Christmas tree was drawing. And then when I got down there, I was like, man, technology's sweet. I'm going to do something even cooler. And I turned on our TV to an amazing warm fireplace that magically played quiet Christmas music in the background. And all the feels, all the stuff came up even as I was preparing this. But it also reminded me how easy I get sucked into that part of it. Normally I would go walk the dog afterwards before I shower. Today, poor guy's going to suffer for another day. It's cold. But I was just being reminded how easy it is to get sucked into all the feels. If you're one of those, I know some people don't like this. I won't say any names, but Jeff, I'm telling you, is not happy that KGIL is all Christmas all the time right now, right? He sent me a text. These people are crazy yesterday. It's all there because they know that's what we look forward to. But does it take away from the number one focus and the number one priority? Or does it help enhance it? And we ask this question because of this simple truth. Our hearts are shaped and they are formed by whatever we choose to worship. And that includes even during this time. And so that's why some of the challenges that are put out, they're not necessarily, like you're not going to go find it in the Bible to do this. You're not going to find it in Jesus' teaching to do this. It's just a response to some of his other teachings in the heart of who he is. And it's steps that we take, it's practices, it's disciplines to help keep ourselves in a place where he is the number one focus. And that's why last week the challenge that was put out there was the bold idea that if we truly want to worship Jesus fully and allow him to remain at the center of this season, we may need to do something countercultural, maybe even a little uncomfortable. And the countercultural idea presented last week was to spend less this year. To not get sucked up into, darn it, I just forgot. Someone sent me last week an amazing, would have been a great picture on the screen about basically choosing Jesus over Amazon this year. And it was the heart of it. I'm going to get it for next week and have that up there to see it because it was such a great way of how it shared it. But it's taking the active step of choosing to spend less and not get caught up in everything, to spend less on things that moth and rust destroy, to spend less on things that pile onto the pile of treasures we already have simply to fulfill the Christmas obligation. We put out the bold challenge to spend less on things that subtly teach our children that Christmas is about having more stuff. We put out the challenge to spend less on products that may come at the cost of someone else's dignity. So simply so that we can enjoy it for a moment. That's one that actually has affected me more and more all the time, that we just like to just kind of like be able to just be like, whatever. We don't stop and think about the dignity and the suffering that someone else is going to so I can enjoy something cheaper for a moment. And so we put out the challenge for that. We put out the challenge to spend less time rushing from sale to sale, from opportunity to opportunity, from being told what we need to be satisfied and happy, only to end up exhausted, hurried, and still unsatisfied. That was the challenge put out last week. It's a different way of thinking. But I am convinced it's not only necessary, it's powerful. But it isn't just powerful to take a step and to set up a discipline. It becomes even more meaningful when we realize it's gently preparing us for the next part of honoring and worshiping the birthday boy on the day that we seek to live the imitation of his life. And this time, I'm not talking about Devin. I'm sorry, man. We love you. But I'm talking about the other birthday boy that's coming up. It's to help set us up into this kind of a place so that we can actually take that next step. It's choosing to spend less isn't the end of the journey. That wasn't put out there just to say, this year, save your money, don't spend as much. It's a way of making room in our hearts for something more. It opens us up to be able to more clearly see the opportunity to give as God gave, and I think still gives today. It clears the clutter of our minds and our hearts and our schedules and everything else to be able to see the way that He gave and to prepare our hearts to maybe imitate His life in the same way, to see the gift that He gave that was given out of love, the gift that He gave that was given to meet real need in people's life, a gift that He gave that He did not hold back on, a gift where He eventually just gave more. When we choose to spend less as an act of worship, we create space in our heart, we create space in our lives to give more, especially in ways that are similar to the ways God has given and continues to give to us. As we consider the gift He gave, it's a challenge for us to be those who imitate God because of the love for Him, as Paul shares, even during this season. Maybe you can be thinking, well, what do you mean, Jared? How did He give? What are you talking about? Like, how did He give? How does He give? What is this? And honestly, it's a little hard to answer. So I just want to let Rick McKinley himself share with you kind of in a nutshell how God gave, the kind of giving it's preparing us to give. McKinley, in his book, Advent Conspiracy, writes this: it sounds so obvious, yet we have drifted from this liberating, straightforward truth. Think about that statement right there and just ask yourself, have I? We've drifted from this liberating, straightforward truth. The Father gave His one and only Son. That's what He gave. Because His answer for the world's problems has never been material things. Instead, He didn't give us more stuff. He didn't even give good stuff like work, food, or health. What He gave is the answer to the world's problems. Is what's that word? Himself. Instead, He gave us Himself, the most priceless and personal gift of all. You know what probably one of the most difficult things is for us to give to somebody? Is that. And I'm not going to go on a soapbox or go off the rails here, but the world we live in and the things that continue to be added to it make it more and more and more difficult all the time. We become creatures, people, humans, that much, much, much more prefer to send our money, to throw a gift, to do whatever. Well, let me stay home. Let me stay in my chair. Let me watch my show. Let me send my texts. Let me scroll my posts and leave me alone. And you get taken care of what I can give. But what I don't want to give is me, myself. And that's reflected quite often in the way that we even approach our gift giving at Christmas. But the miracle of Christmas is the infinite becoming finite. The miracle of Christmas is God becoming bone and skin and guts. Or as we said last week that Eugene Peterson wrote, God moving into our neighborhood. Literally leaving the throne of heaven to move into our neighborhood, light of the world, you step down into darkness. The miracle of Christmas is God giving us His personal, intimate presence and understanding, not just for our pleasure, but for our good and for our natural desire to be loved. Because even the hardest of us still have a natural desire to be loved by someone or something, as long as we feel loved. So God gave us His presence in a nurturing relationship, the very heartbeat of what has always been and will always be what He is about. When He did this, when He gave in a way that showed how much He cared. When He did this, He gave in a way that proved He was paying attention to everybody's lives. When He gave in a way that would make a difference for every individual's life. When He gave a gift that was meaningful and impactful, and He knew would have something in their life. When He gave, He literally incarnated Himself into the lives of those that He deeply cares about. That's why we can look again at the words of John when it says, the Word became human and made His home among us. That's because He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness. That's why He could also say that the reason He loved the world, that it was out of that love that He gave His Son. He did it so that we could get what we really need, that whoever believes in Him would not perish, but actually have eternal life. That starts the moment we believe Him. He literally came and gave so that we could experience that. He gave in a way that would bring a person life and life to the full. But He did this lovingly, carefully, attentively, impactfully, meaningfully, personally, presently. He gave a gift that created a connection between the giver and the receiver through His presence. And I would argue that's still how God gives today to each and every person who opens their eyes and sees it. That's what this story, sorry, I said this word story. That's what this moment in history is reminding us. That is the gift that God gave. And it sets up a great model for how we can give to those around us when we give more. We worship Him fully, not by just spending less so that we can save a buck, but so we can prepare our hearts to give like Him. But we do got to keep in mind that if we're going to choose to imitate Him in the way that we give, there are particular elements, components of this gift that we need to keep along the way. Because again, it's not going to be as easy as to say, just put it on the card. Wait, hold on, let me find it on Amazon. Yeah, that looks right. That's the cheapest one. I can return if it doesn't work anyway. Yeah, we can do this. Like, it's going to take more than just like scrolling through. If we're going to give in the way that God gave, this gift is going to need to be personal and attentive. That's one of the components. That's one of the elements. That's one of the ways He gave. It's going to actually mean that it's more intimate than the normal get it off the list kind of a gift. It's a gift that comes out of some of the certain special aspects of the relationship between the giver and the receiver. It's actually thinking personally. It's being attentive to the person that we're giving it to, knowing the things that actually drive them, knowing what some of their favorite hobbies are, knowing what some of the things that excite them. It's paying attention to them so we know what matters to them. As one author says, relational giving means that we pay attention to the other person. We think about who they are and what they care about. If we're going to give like God, it starts with that. But then it also is recognizing the element that it could be a little costly. And when I mean costly, I don't necessarily mean costly financially, But I mean, it could be a little bit costly. I mean, if it's appropriate, if it's possible, if it's necessary for whatever that gift may be, then maybe so. But more often, it's mental, it's emotional, it's time consuming cost kind of gift that we're talking about. It's not just at Christmas, but I happen to be married to someone who is very good at living in this recognizing part and giving the cost that's given to this. And every Christmas, for quite a while actually, for a number of hours, for a couple of days, she's, one of our traditions, has started a Shutterfly photo book of the year. And it's not just a mix. The thing that gets me the most of this is it's not just taking a bunch of pictures that look good and just sticking them in there. She writes stuff with it. And it sounds like ChatGPT before ChatGPT came out. That good. It's like you had to stop and think about this. She basically tells a story of the year through the pictures for us to go back to. And if I would have been smart, I would have brought one of them with me. I don't know how many years we have now, but it's one of, honestly, all of our favorite gifts. We will get our child something, we'll get them that, and they enjoy it. But the number one thing that we often do when we open the book, before we do anything else, is every one of us three at some point looks through that book before we get up and go on to the rest of the day. But it cost her. There was a lot of time sitting in her spot on the other side of the couch by her end table in her area, looking through this, seeking out pictures, texting parents, texting family, texting us, asking us. We know it's coming, but there's a cost to it. And that kind of a gift like what he gives, I mean, again, think of the cost for the light of the world to step down into darkness. If we're going to give as God gave, we must accept that relational giving will cost us. And not only will it cost us, but here's where it gets really hard. We accept that the fact that it's a little bit risky, too. There is a reality when one of these gifts come that there's going to be risky at times. But think about it. When God gave us Jesus, there was risk to that. He gave a gift that was personal. He gave a gift that was costly. But He gave a gift that was risky. He gave us something that we could decide we didn't need. He gave us something we could decide that we didn't like, that we were not happy with, that we flat out did not want. And many people do. But when God gave us this gift that we're celebrating, there was a risk to it. He didn't give us this gift just going, man, everybody in the world is just going to love what I gave them, and it's just going to be amazing, because so many people actually reject the gift. And the truth is, if we're going to do this, partly because of how we've been taught and how we've been cultured and everything else that comes, there's a chance that if we're going to give in this way, where we're paying attention, where we're trying to make it personal, where we're giving a piece of ourselves and themselves and how the relationship works there, when we're taking the time, when we're counting the cost, there could be a risk to this. Someone could look at this, your child may look at this and go, that's not the jersey I wanted. Like, that can happen. But we take that risk. God's gift had risk to it. And the gift we have will as well, for so many reasons. But we continue to keep going on and fulfill the last component of the gift and the risk of it because of this part of the element, this part of the gift. It's one that flows from the level of love that exists within the relationship. We do it anyway because we just love that person. And we keep going. This is why, even with the commitment of presence and cost and risk involved with the gift, God didn't just flippantly just turn it over and be like, I'll just do something else. Instead, He still chose to give us the best that He could because of His love. The level of love that He had towards those that He was giving this gift to, His desire and how much He knew it would mean to each of us individually, led Him just to do it anyway and to take that chance. What He gave and what He still gives today comes from a relationship of love, which again is what He has always been about. And I would just bet, I would just be willing to put out there that if we were to imitate God, as Paul writes, be those that are seeking to be followers of Him, children of Him, those that want to be like, that's what my daddy does, that's what I want to do too, That's what he's done for me. That's what I want to share with you. That if we would live this out, if we would just take this year, just take this particular year, if we would live this out and say, you know what, I'm going to choose to make him the number one focus and priority. I'm going to spend less on the list and just going through the obligations and take more time to be personal and intimate and attentive. And I'm going to take some time that, I'm going to fulfill the cost of time and emotion and energy and whatever comes with that. And I'm going to take that risk to put that out there. And it may end up looking like a handwritten note when it's all done. With all those elements there because of the love we have for them, I'll bet if I asked next year or in 2 years or in 3 years, what did you get a year ago? What's one of the greatest gifts? I would almost be willing to bet we would say that one. Because we would be experiencing something that is way bigger than just a Christmas gift. We'd be experiencing God and the way He gave and Him giving through that. We'd be reminded of so many different levels of love that is part of our lives. That's why we're walking through this, looking at it a little different this year. If we're going to imitate Him, maybe we could give more than we often do by doing the same as He did. So I encourage us to consider that. But I also recognize, as I wrap this up, it ain't easy. Again, as one author wrote, one of the big pressures each Christmas season is coming up with gift ideas. Can I tell you, I'm right there. Literally today, in the shower, I'm thinking of all this going, like, I still don't have it yet. I think I'm starting to get something, but I still don't have it yet. I could very easily go for each person in my family and be like, all right, Amazon, Shein, you've heard me talk about that. I mean, I can just go buy anything off of Shein and we're good to go in my house right now because it's all girls left but me. I could go find something Thunder or Chiefs or whatever and we're good. But I do want it to be. And listen, it's more than just Christmas for me right now. This isn't to sound morbid or whatever, but I'm like, I really don't even know how many Christmases I have left. Why not make each one meaningful? And let those people that are important to me know personally that part. And so I realize that's hard. When he says one of the big pressures each Christmas season is coming up with the gift ideas, I get it. And he says for some, that pressure seems to increase when we decide not to buy Uncle Murray that sweater he is never going to wear anyway. Instead, we find ourselves going, now what? We have to be creative. We have to think. And he says this is usually the time that some of us begin to get a little fearful that we're not going to come up with anything meaningful. And it's true. And honestly, we give up and we go back to the tried and true. So as we close, I just want to leave this with just a few thoughts that might help put us in a place to at least attempt this. I want to encourage us to maybe pray for a heart, especially during this busy season, that is shaped by the challenge and the encouragement of Paul in his letter to God's holy people in Philippi. I want to encourage us to pray that we would have this heart that Paul writes to not do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but instead in humility to value others above yourselves. Not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. And the reason he was able to do this is because that was the mind of Christ. So he says, in your relationships with one another. Not in your relationship with Jesus, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. What was his mindset? He was in very nature God. But he did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And if that's not enough, he went even further. In being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Listen, if we can pray to have this particular mindset, we can probably get to a point where we can say, I can take the time to truly give somebody a gift that shows our relationship together. where my presence meets their presence. And in that moment, maybe they experience some of God's presence. It makes it easier. I encourage you, pray for everyone on your Christmas list before purchasing anything. If you guys want to come up, we're closing this down. Just pray through everyone on your list. Like, don't just look at the list and be like, what do they want? What do they need? Start praying for them. Pray for them. Pray for a fresh reminder of how you see them. Pray for a reminder of how God sees them. And pray for a way to remind yourself and then what a gift they are and how this could be demonstrated. Say, God, help me on this. Paul says to pray all the time. Listen, it can be on praying for the gift that we should get somebody for them to realize how valuable they are and how much they're loved. So pray for them. I hate to say that I don't pray through my Christmas list for the people, and I just figure out what I'm going to get them. But what if we prayed for them first? And then find presents that celebrate their hobbies and their passions and their strengths and their fearfully and wonderfully made giftedness. Find gifts that let them see that this is how I see you. Listen, we all struggle at some point with seeing each other and being reminded that we are knit together in our mother's womb, fearfully, wonderfully made. All the days ordained for us written in His book before one of them came to be. We all struggle with that. So pray that God will help you see that and find a way to show them that, hey, this is you. This is your value. It's your giftedness. That's your wonderfully and fearfully made amazingness. And then remember, it's not about the number of gifts. It's about celebrating the relationship and giving thanks to God for that person. Giving thanks to God for who they are, what He's done, all of that in there. Like, we keep those elements in mind. When that difficulty comes and we start having a hard time breathing of what am I going to do? Now I'm more stressed out trying to figure this out. Pray for them. Pray for that mindset to say it's not about me, actually. It's about you and it's about them. So help me see them. Help me express to them. And help me to be okay with whatever it is we come up with. As long as it's personal, it's attentive, could be costly, could be risky, but it's for them. It celebrates the level of love and relationship with them. It'll make a difference. I asked you guys at the beginning, your greatest gifts. I could have a whole pile of them, to be honest, because I told you I live with someone who, before Advent Conspiracy came along, was good at this. I'm blessed with that. I couldn't tell you what I got 5 years ago during COVID. I did not get hand sanitizer or COVID. Got it before. There's a lot of gifts I don't know. But there's some that I do know, and I may not even remember when they are, where they came from, but it's because of how they were given. One of them, I think maybe I do have on the screen, I don't remember, is one that hangs in my garage. And I look at it quite often because somebody was paying attention. This is obviously our time in Oregon. We just went to the coast one day, and I was carrying Caden. Just down by the water. But because somebody was paying attention enough in the relationship, she took a picture. I know she thought it was kind of just a good picture, but then had the creativity to come along later and give the gift and write on there that any man can be a father, but it takes a special person to be a dad. And give me this simple gift. It's a picture. I mean, it's a picture that I can tell you right now, when I'm in my garage, especially now that my son is gone, he's never coming back. He's told me. He's moved on. He's living life. He's spread his wings. I mean, he'll be back, but I mean, he's never moving back. Of course, now that I say that out loud, God's got a sense of humor, huh? We'll see. I can look at this because somebody else is paying attention and took the time and even the risk of hoping that was good enough to give. The other one I hang on to, if you come in my office, you'll see it in here. But in 2010, we left the church we were at, which their motto in this town, in this city now of Newburgh, is a great place to grow. But she did it because it was also a great place to grow for our family. It was not a place we were expecting to go. In fact, we were shocked. We went through a moment where we thought was going to happen, didn't happen, and we were stuck. We didn't know what was going to go on. And this was never on our radar to go to Newburgh, Oregon. But eventually that's the path it led to was Newburgh. And she just put a whole book together in 2010 for Christmas. This is my gift. And I still remember it. Look how simple it is. You want to know the gift that I remember from 15 years ago? Is this. And it just reminds me of the people and the relationships. And again, I told you she's really good at writing messages in there. It makes me emotional almost each time I do it because it takes me back and reminds me again. And in the midst of it, I know it's going to sound cheesy to all of you, but the last line she writes in there, this church was such a wonderful blessing to us. I've seen how much you have grown in your relationship with Christ over the past 5 years, and I want you to know how proud I am of you and how much I respect the work you did in this ministry. Although I'll miss the time we had in Newburgh, I look forward to what's ahead of us for our future ministry together. I love you and Merry Christmas, Leanne. And that gets me even today because it's personal. It's attentive. The cost was her time, her ability to think this through. The risk, I could have been like, really? Where's the rest? But this was awesome. It's that simple, guys. But I remember it, and it makes a difference. And I want to encourage us, for those that we love in our life, to give it a shot. Maybe you've already bought the list. Just make it small. Write a letter. Something like that. But I guarantee when I ask the question, in a year or 2 or 3 or 5, someone's going to go, I remember that one. In fact, I can tell you that because some of the answers that were given to me by our high schoolers Wednesday night were those kind of gifts because of the meaning behind it. It's just this subtle way that we're reminded of a deeper love for our lives. The love that stepped down into darkness, the light of the world, opened our eyes so we can see. Would you stand and let's close with that as we close this time? Consider this.